You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey there, Days of Our Lives fans. It is Belinda from Soap Dirt, and I want to talk about Leo Stark and how he may soon ramp up his antics to torment Sloan Petersen so she finally gives Nicole Walker back her baby. Fans are frustrated with how long it has taken them to return the child to Nicole, but the end is in sight, and I just wonder how large of a role Leo might play in the baby's return. Before we dig into this, please click subscribe, though, if you haven't, so you don't miss any of our day's updates. So right now, every single time that Leo Stark sees Sloan Petersen, he never fails to push her buttons. He drops double entendres. He hints at the fact that he could blow up her life with just a few words out of his mouth. And he has told her that the only thing that will stop the blackmail and him pressuring her is for her to give back that baby. And right now, I think Sloan is getting more and more willing to give back the baby if she can find a way to avoid legal consequences. I mean, Sloan has to know she would not fare well in court because her crazy brother was just convicted for the attempted murder of Paulina Price and others, and he's a really bad seed. Colin Bedford's name came up, that's her brother, of course, when she was trying to adopt a baby, and basically her reputation and Colin's reputation was causing a problem with the adoption process. So imagine if she wound up in court facing criminal charges with a crazy brother, in the public record. So Colin was awful. Sloan's no prize either, but he's still worse than her. Right now, what Sloan really wants is to be alone with Eric Brady, as his wife, no crying child between them. And she's really only doing this baby thing because of Eric. On Friday's episode, this past Friday, we saw Nicole Walker finally back to Salem. But for that episode, she was mostly cloistered at the DiMera mansion with her daughter, Holly Jonas, who remains in a coma but off of the ventilator, and her husband, EJ DiMera. But I am quite certain that word will soon spread that Nicole is back in town with her daughter, and when Leo Stark finds out, I bet he runs straight to Sloan, amps up that pressure on her, and tells her, Nicole's back, you got to give back that baby. I mean, with Nicole out of town, Sloan basically kind of had a temporary reprieve from Leo's worst antics because with her gone, she had no one to give the baby back to. Now, though, I would suspect all bets are off and Leo is going to start openly agitating Sloan until he pushes her to her breaking point. I think he already knows she's pretty close. She's frazzled, she's sleep deprived, she's drinking more than usual. She's kind of spiraling out in a lot of ways. And executive producer Ken Corday confirmed that Sloan Petersen will continue to unravel before our very eyes, and then she will find a way to give the baby back to Nicole. But he also hinted that at the point that it happens, Nicole and Eric will still not find out the whole truth. And of course, the whole truth is little Jude is Eric and Nicole's biological child. There are still some loose ends, of course, like that DNA test that they just did off EJ's sample that they said was negative, but I'm sure the soap can easily overcome that with some clever writing, or just not even mention it, On last week's episodes, we saw Leo saying that Eric and Jude are two of his favorite people in Salem, and then he insulted Sloan and said she wasn't, and it was done openly right in front of her husband. And, Eric just seems to find Leo kind of harmless and amusing and silly, and he doesn't understand, he is not seeing that Leo is openly threatening Sloan right in front of him, and that's because Sloan is doing all she can to minimize and cover up the mess, but it is not going to go away, not until Jude is back with Nicole. Once Leo finds out Nicole is back in town, I can only imagine what sort of shenanigans he's going to engage in to get the kid back in her hands. I think he might demand more money from an already cash-strapped Sloan to intentionally push her to the break point. He may even threaten to go directly to the police and tell Rafe Hernandez the truth. I mean, as one of Nicole's ex-husbands, I do believe Rafe would take this seriously. And remember, Leo Stark Stark actually went to the DiMera mansion intent on spilling the beans to Nicole and EJ, but EJ, as usual, acted like a total prat and would not listen to one word from Lady Whistleblower. So speaking of Leo's media persona, I wonder if Lady Whistleblower is going to drop a blind item, something saying a dead baby of a prominent family may be not so dead, something like that, something vague, but also so specific that it can't be ignored, especially not by Sloan. And maybe Leo would do that, hoping someone will come ask him about it and he can finally tell the truth. So what's very clear is Sloan's window to come clean is gradually closing and it'll be shut very soon. And I wonder if it's all going to come out before the end of Sweeps, which is in about, I don't know, like 8 or 9 episodes, 5, 6, 7, I think 8 episodes. But it seems like there's plenty of time. And Ken Corday indicated that the baby give back was going to come sooner rather than later. So that's another reason to suspect it could come out in Sweeps. I mean, it would only take 1 episode to make it happen. I don't know for sure how they're going to do it, but I think the simplest way would be to just claim messed up paperwork at the hospital. Dr. Pierce could say the papers for the adoptive baby that supposedly died got tangled up with Nicole's son who did not die. They got the babies confused, something like that. I don't think they have to give a really elaborate explanation because Nicole and EJ will accept whatever they tell them if it means they get to take that baby home with them. And if Sloan Petersen isn't fighting tooth and nail, then everything could go pretty smoothly for the transfer of the baby from them back to Nicole. Clearly, Eric Brady would be heartbroken to lose his little son, but I think Sloan will rationalize and justify all that and decide that she'll be there to comfort him and make him feel better. I mean, this is going to be a win-win for Sloan because if she gives Jude back to Nicole, Leo's blackmail should stop. He should stop wasting all her money, and then the baby will be gone from Sloan and Eric's house. And that means Sloan can start sleeping through the night without a crying child waking her up, and she can enjoy naked alone time with Eric. You know, that's what she's been complaining about missing. But I also think that Sloan may underestimate the amount of grief that Eric is going to be hit with upon losing what would have been his only biological child. Because when the baby first comes back to Nicole, surely they will let it keep going, this myth that it is Nicole and EJ's baby. And then the Eric reveal will come later, maybe even as late as May Sweeps, because Ari Zucker should be leaving around June or so for good. So how far do you think Leo is going to go to make sure that Sloan cracks and caves under the pressure and finally gives Nicole back her baby? Be sure and drop your comments and definitely click subscribe if you haven't already and come back soon because this is Belinda from Soap Dirt and I am here talking Days of Our Lives 7 days a week.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.